Gentlemen, in this video, I am going to introduce you to the annoyingly simple system that any man can leverage to shatter potential limiting habits and become the high caliber top 1% man that his purpose, family, and the world needs him to be without having to spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars doing subconscious reprogramming, digging up unnecessary childhood trauma, or yo-yoing from one 90-day challenge to the next only to find himself back in the mirror, overwhelmed by disappointment and self-doubt once again. Now, before I do that, let's get real. If you're taking time and energy out of your busy day to watch this video, it's because you desire change. You desire change in some area of your life or being, and you want to know if I can actually help. So let's find out. Don't exit out of this video halfway through and rob yourself of another opportunity to finally create the change that you're looking for, let alone have the tools to become the man that you want to be. Give me and yourself the opportunity to see if this could actually solve all your problems, let alone help you create sustainable change in your life. Whether that's your health, your fitness, your relationship, your dating life, your business, your career, your purpose, social circle, finances, your freedom, or lack thereof, and you struggle to create that change on your own. Maybe when you look in the mirror, you see a man who's insecure, fat and out of shape, depressed, overly emotional, coping with alcohol, weed, or even worse, fucking vaping. You're experiencing low energy on a daily basis, frustrated with your lack of discipline, sick and tired of finding yourself in the same place over and over again. Maybe you're feeling lazy or just full of doubt. Or maybe it's not that crazy. Maybe life is pretty good, but you've just got this one fucking area you cannot figure out how to break through. Maybe you just know that you're coasting and you know that you're operating at 30, 40, maybe 50% of your true potential. Either way, all you want is to be able to say you're going to do something and actually fucking do it in all areas of your life, consistently, confidently, on command to reach the elite level you know that you're capable of. Well, stay with me because I'm going to introduce you to the KTG system that not only allowed me to do that, but allowed me to go from 5 years ago, 50 pounds overweight. I was severely depressed, dealing with symptoms of PTSD, coping with alcohol daily. I went from working 60 hours a week, working what I considered my dream job, to no job, walking away from it in the prime of my career with no community, no true social circle. I was in a dead-end, sexless relationship. I was insecure, self-conscious, didn't trust or believe in myself. To 3 years later, in the best shape of my life, zero depression, incredibly happy, PTSD completely under control, owner of 2 companies, I create my own schedule. I've got an insane network and community that respects me and looks to me for guidance. And I'm in a fun, healthy, and exciting relationship with an absolute 10, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I have unshakable confidence and self-belief. And contrary to what half the gurus say and all the mainstream solutions, what created all this change for me did not involve spending thousands of dollars on a subconscious reprogramming coach, or spending 12 weeks digging up childhood trauma, or some 15-step morning routine, nor did it involve some 90-day challenge that is supposed to change my life. And it damn sure didn't take 6 months to actually see results once I dialed in this system. But before we continue, I really want to address skepticism. Right? After coaching for the last 4 or 5 years, serving over 450 clients, many of them being coaches themselves, I know you may be skeptical. There's a lot of coaches, programs, and courses out there that do not deliver their promise. There's a lot of well-intentioned coaches that learn some really good information and now teach it without ever practicing it, let alone living it. Not only have I practiced what I'm about to show you, I've lived it to the point that it resides at the core of who I am as a man. So make sure you stay to the end, because I'm going to show you all of the evidence of how this system works and that it does work. And I'm also going to include something that is involved in the offer that makes it risk-free, the risk-free guarantee. Okay? So this system, this program can work for every man, but is not for every man. A victim mindset will not be tolerated here. You will be required to take a higher level of responsibility than you ever have in your entire life. You will be required to not only have a high willingness to learn, but a high willingness to accept change. You will be supported, but you will also be challenged. I will hold space for your growth, but I also call you out on your shit and hold you to a higher standard. And if you can't handle that shit and your ego is too fragile, then exit out now. Don't waste your time because this isn't for you. But if what I just said makes you slightly nervous, but also fired the fuck up, then let's keep rocking. Now, who am I? I think my career as a police officer and a detective on the SWAT team in New Orleans played a significant role in who I've become. So I'm going to bring you through just a little bit of that journey. In the first 3 weeks of me being on the job, one of the guys on my platoon was shot and killed. And during the manhunt, I found myself alone in a foot chase with his killer and caught him. That unfortunate event put my career on the fast track. Over the course of the next few years, I got to work in several specialized units doing joint task force operations with FBI, DEA, ATF, Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, you name it, I got to work with them. And I got to do everything from hostage situations like what you see here to undercover human trafficking operations, And I was really getting to live my dream job, getting to experience everything I grew up seeing in the movies and more. Until one day it turned into a nightmare. October 13th, 2017. The only day I took off all year. I was sitting in the middle of the Talladega Speedway at my cousin's bachelor party when I got the call that my partner, Marcus McNeil, had been shot in the head and killed while covering my spot since I wasn't there that night. And I was drinking a beer at the time, and I didn't stop drinking for 150 days straight. I spent 5 straight months drowning myself in whiskey every night, staring at my gun, wishing it was me. I stopped working out. I stopped eating healthy, couldn't sleep more than 1-2 hours at night. My relationship started to fall apart. The intimacy was replaced with resentment. Sex became rare, and when it did happen, I couldn't last for the life of me because my nutrition was shit and my testosterone was shot. But despite the destruction of my personal life, at the end of that 5 months, my work reputation landed me a position on the SWAT team, where I spent the next year having a lot of fucking fun, doing some gangster shit, but also constantly distracting myself with work. Waking up at 3 a.m., kidding up in all black, meeting in the war room for a operation brief before executing a high-risk warrant on a wanted subject. Then I would return to the SWAT compound and dress up like a construction worker or a crackhead, something similar to this picture here, and spend the next 12 to 16 hours tracking down and catching cold-blooded killers. Until December 2018, when my cover was blown and I had a really close call and a hit was put out on me. And I found myself in the mirror staring at a man I did not set out to become. I was 50 pounds heavier than I'd ever been in my life, depressed, angry, knew that I was flirting with death daily, whether it's going to be from my work or my own gun or my health. I felt incredibly insecure and self-conscious and didn't feel wanted in my relationship. And as a masculine man, it's very hard to accept, let alone admit. And when I looked in the mirror, all I saw was a pile of broken promises that I had made to myself, and I knew something had to change. So I walked away from my job in the prime of my career with no idea what I was going to do with my life. And within months, we called off the wedding, and I was left to face my demons. And through the next couple years, I really tried it all to really get my shit together. I did, different fitness challenges, yoga challenges. I completed 75 hard twice, as well as live hard. Spent thousands of dollars on, self-mastery courses, then resorted to tens of thousands of dollars on coaches and mentors, and none of it truly actually solved the root cause of all my problems, let alone sustainably. See, the challenges created containers that my ego was able to carry me through for 30 or even 75 days. But once it was over, I would go back to my old ways. And I learned a lot from the different courses that I went through, but they didn't come with the support I needed. So I was left using the same brain that caused the problem to solve the problem, which doesn't work. And then I resorted to paying thousands of dollars for coaches and mentors. And again, they all taught me things, helped me with things, but not much of it was sustainable. And so then I went, okay, maybe it's this subconscious reprogramming everybody's talking about. So hired a subconscious reprogramming coach, and he brought me through exercises every week, but I couldn't tell if it was horse shit or not. Couldn't tell. And the only thing that I could tell that actually truly helped was when he talked to me or talked with me through things consciously and helped shift my perspective and the way that I think. So I still found myself back where I was, standing in the mirror, frustrated with my health, my fitness, my business, finances, my dating life. I felt like people respected me only because of what I used to be, not because of what I was currently. And I found myself desiring change in every fucking area of my life. And I was sick of looking in the mirror and feeling disappointment, knowing that I continued to make promises to myself. And even if I did keep them for a month or two, I eventually broke them and made my way back to where I started. And if not right where I started, close to it. And this was really the breaking point for me. This is where I finally made the decision. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. And that led me to really analyzing everything that I had tried. What worked? What didn't work? Why? While I spent this time reflecting, I continued to listen to some training videos from a mentor who specifically had really helped me change the way that I think. And in doing so, I finally understood the simple way that we as humans either build or destroy trust and belief, not only with ourselves, but others. And that's by keeping and breaking agreements. And this made me realize that I've been trying to solve the wrong problem all along. So the truth was, I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself. I felt insecure. I kept falling off of my nutrition plan, my workout plan. My dating life was non-existent. It was shit. Nor did I have the money to be dating, right? My bank account kept going into the negative. And the cause of all of it was that I kept making agreements and breaking them. My inability to do what I said I was going to do long enough to see the results of the work. How could I trust myself? I continued to say I was going to do something and stick with it, but I always fell off. You do that enough times and you stop trusting your own words. You stop believing in yourself. And the result of all of those broken promises was the level of insecurity that I felt. Of course, I feel insecure, right? I'm fucking fat, broke, single, lacking discipline and focus. It makes sense why I feel insecure. And I reinforce it every time I break an agreement with myself. Every time I lie to myself and craft up some creative bullshit excuse, I reinforce it. I make it worse. I know what I need to do. I know what agreements to make with myself in order to create the habits that will deliver the desired result, but I continue to break those agreements. That is what was causing all the pain. That habit, the habit of breaking agreements, was the main thing keeping me stuck in any and all areas of my life. That was the problem. And if that was the problem, then what would be the logical solution? The logical solution was to start keeping my agreements, which sounds simple, and it is. The problem inside that problem was that I didn't truly understand the power of agreements. I didn't respect agreements for what they are and what they can do for us or to us. My own words had lost all their weight. What came next is referred to as the 10-second miracle. I had to take full 100% responsibility for every single area of my life. I had to stop pointing the finger elsewhere. I had to stop making excuses. And I had to accept that my entire life, everything that it was and wasn't, was all my fault. And that, for any man, becomes a very pivotal moment. From there, there's trial and error. I began keeping strategic agreements with myself and really doing everything to execute long enough that it would be irrational for me to not hit my goal. And all I focused on was keeping those agreements. But then life would happen and I'd have to break an agreement, or I'd somehow talk my way out of doing something that day, which many times led to 2 days or 2 weeks. And then guilt and shame and frustration would pile up and spiral. And sometimes I'd throw my hands up again in this frustration. And all these different courses and programs, challenges, habits, and strategies, I just thought the complexity of them was what was making them so unsustainable. And while sitting in this pain and frustration, clarity came. A theory, if you will, if all I did was make strategic agreements with myself and put all of my energy into keeping those agreements for 2-3 times as long as I think it will take to see the result, maybe that will guarantee success. So I set out to prove it in just one area of my life, and the one area that was most challenging for me, which is my health and fitness. But with it, I had to accept that life was going to continue to happen, and I'd need to figure out how to break agreements when necessary and renegotiate them without it doing internal damage or stripping away at my progress and the trust and belief that I was starting to rebuild finally. And the result of that was this: lost all 50 pounds and ended up getting into the best shape of my life at 32 years old. Once I proved this theory to myself within my health and fitness, it was time to apply it elsewhere, to continue to prove the theory. So I applied it to business. I established the few things that I needed to do every single day to move the needle towards my goal in business, and the only thing I focused on was executing on keeping those agreements. Now, at the time, I had just launched my first coaching offer, and the result of it was a big old fucking goose egg. I got one inquiry and didn't even close them, and it didn't go well, right? But the making and keeping of the right agreements kept me disciplined and focused on the only things that mattered. Of course, there were times that I got distracted. I was not perfect by any means, but I knew where I needed to return to each time to continue the process and continue making progress. And eventually, that led to working with now over 450 clients, some of which have flown from different countries around the world to where I live to spend a week working with me. I've had more than a handful of clients now move to where I live to be in closer proximity. And I've employed some, I've become really good friends with some, and the results of that work, I once again proved that theory. And then all of a sudden, the compound effect of keeping those agreements and the result they brought led me to podcast interviews, some of which were live in front of hundreds of people, and then different stages and different audiences and different communities, speaking on this topic and similar ones. And that, of course, increased my social status, right? Started opening doors for me, got me in the right rooms with the right people. And now all of a sudden, things are changing, right? And I'm making them change. My consistent action is having a compound effect. I used to be terrified, absolutely terrified of public speaking my entire life. Now I've got the composure and confidence to get up on 9 different stages and speak in front of thousands of people in just 1 year. 1 year. Now I'm putting on annual camping trips with 30, 60 high level entrepreneurs, getting calls weekly from the men in my network asking me for advice, guidance, and perspective on areas they want to create change in their life. Then finally, I felt like I had done enough internal work and was confident enough to get back into the dating world. And it felt incredible. If I was out at a bar and saw a woman that interested me, there was zero hesitation. I just walked straight up to them confidently and introduced myself. And over the course of the first couple months getting back into dating, I went on multiple dates pretty much every week, being very intentional with what I was looking for. And each one was nope, nope, nope. Eventually going on a date with this beautiful human being right here. And that worked out well, but it blew open a whole new box of internal work for me. You know, every man says he wants to date a 10, but very few are actually ready. Everywhere we went, dudes were checking her out, staring at her. She'd get hit on pretty much everywhere she'd go or we'd go. Right? If I walked away for even just a second, there was an opportunity that opened up for some guy to hit on her. And we'd be at the gym, and I'd be doing my workout across the room, and I'd be watching dudes walk up to her all day. I'd be watching dudes build up the courage to walk up to her all day, and it really brought up some dormant insecurities, really made their way to the surface that I had to face and continue to face until I overcame them. Now, I really had to maintain, at this point, keeping my agreements with myself and my health, my fitness, as well as my business and the increasing responsibilities I was taking on in my business, while also keeping my agreements with my girlfriend, doing stuff around the house, going on dates, working on, my patience and doing my internal work to be able to hold space for her trauma that she was bringing into the relationship. And I had to do that. I really try to figure it out. There was definitely times where I struggled, but I had to do that without letting other areas slip. And sometimes I did, and it was very hard, but I eventually was able to dial it in. And now, after years of trial, error, progress, setbacks, thousands of hours and dollars invested into figuring out a simple system that would actually work, I recently found myself living in a place that I put on my vision board years ago. A place that inspires me, that has everything I need to optimize my health, my fitness, and really my business. I'm surrounded by successful, influential, and affluential people to build powerful relationships with. I'm in the best shape of my life. This picture is actually a little old. I got probably 5-6 more pounds of muscle on me now. But I wake up every morning, do my cold plunge, hit the gym, and then crush work, right? Dialed in. I'm 2 years into an incredibly powerful, fun, healthy relationship with a woman who admires me and respects me and supports me and pushes me to be better every single day. I'm now the owner of 2 companies, one of which is currently valued at $3 million, with my business partners who are my absolute best friends and brothers. And quite frankly, I feel unstoppable at this point, and I could set any goal and fucking smash it. You'd have to fucking kill me to stop me from achieving what I want in life, which many men have already tried to, and I'm still fucking here. And I operate that way from a healthy place. I can be soft, loving, and be an understanding man when I need to be, and I'm also capable of insane execution and great violence if necessary. And if we had more men feeling that way, they'd be living a very different reality. Not to mention the world, especially this country, might also be in a very different place. I mean, look at this dude. Look at the dude on the left, right? Fat, depressed, just a mess. And then look at the dude on the right. Okay? I want this for you. Whatever area of your life looks like that dude on the left, let's make it look like the dude on the right. Every area of your life. Right? That's the transformation. That's the change that I want to help you create. And this system will absolutely do that. Now, recently, all of a sudden I find myself standing in the exact spot I set out to, and I realize that somewhere along the way, the making and keeping of the agreements, right, the strategic negotiating of the broken agreements, and simply taking 100% responsibility for my life became who I am. This is what Dylan Warder does. He keeps his agreements. He does what he says he's going to do. He is a man of his word, a man of integrity that people can depend on, that most importantly, he can depend on. But I knew it wasn't that simple. And I knew if I wanted to help other men transform themselves and their lives anywhere near the level I did, I had to get very clear on the how. And it had to be more than just simply keeping my agreements. But since this theory I was trying to prove over time became the system I operated from daily, eventually unconsciously, I had essentially proven the theory over and over, kind of forgetting that that was my original intention. And I decided to really analyze how I created this change in each area of my life, step by step. And what I found was there were actually 3 things I did consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, anytime I decided that I wanted to create change in some area of my life. And I didn't stop doing them until the desired change became my new reality. And those 3 actions are what I now call the KTG system. The biggest lever, of course, was actually keeping my agreements that I made with myself. This required me to change the way I see goal setting. I had to learn how to go about making the strategic agreements, how and when to stack agreements, what was too many agreements. I had to figure out how to break them when necessary and renegotiate them effectively. And all of that required taking responsibility. Taking responsibility. It was required in order for me to face the truth of where I was in the area that I was looking to create change. It was required to keep, break, and renegotiate agreements. It was required in several different ways as I navigated the process in changing each area of my life. It was required to lead in each area of my life, especially in my relationship. There's so many levels to that one. And this is a huge topic that we'll continuously discuss and navigate together. Because honestly, this was sometimes just as hard, if not harder, than keeping agreements, because there's so many layers to it. And also because we are really good at lying to ourselves. And if you don't think that you are, you're probably lying to yourself right now. And then there was giving recognition. This one isn't as straightforward. It's a bit more complex because it requires you to define what you consider a win to be for yourself. It requires you to be able to actually recognize when that win takes place. It requires you to give yourself the credit where it's due, but also, and really celebrate, but also at the same time, check yourself and realize that you haven't done shit yet, all while managing this balance between instant gratification, delayed gratification, just in order to build unshakable confidence. And also at the same time, maintain this humility, right? So figuring this out wasn't easy. There were times that my head got a little too big, right? My ego started to build some momentum in its growth, and I really ended up having to starve my ego for a season and really check myself hard. But now I've been able to dial this in to a powerful belief building system. And really the whole point of reflecting, analyzing, continuously proving this theory in each area of my life and then breaking it down into a very simple system was so that I could help other men like you who are in a similar place that I was. wanting to build or rebuild more confidence, more self-belief, more discipline, more mental strength, more self-trust, who have a burning desire to create change in their life and tap into their full potential, who want to have the personal power to set a target, whether it's in your health, your fitness, your dating, your relationships, your business, your career, or anything else for that matter, and actually fucking hit it. I want to help you do that. I want to equip you with a system that will empower you to take 100% control over every area of your life and give you the tools that are required to go to war with yourself daily and fucking win. Not only to serve you, but also to serve the world. The world needs stronger men now more than ever, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, who are willing to stand and fight for what they believe in. But first, they must believe in themselves. And the world can't change if you don't change. It starts with you.